add myself to the stage. Hey, look, I'm streaming 2 days in a row. We're on a roll here now. How's everybody doing? It's another chilly, frosty night here at the stream location, but I am still here to talk with you about matters of faith. My name is Stuart Davis, a flawed man of God, a humble parishioner at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, not a biblical scholar, haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of different topics, issues, and current events, and give you my perspective on them. What I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 42 years, non-denominational Protestant. Don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. I'm just in the Word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Sometimes I'll get it right. Often I'll get it wrong. No matter what. If you're catching the stream, if you're hearing my voice, you can count on getting my honest takes on whatever it is we're talking about. So if you're somebody who is new to Christianity, somebody who is feeling that calling, and you want to learn more, you want to do more, thinking about going to church, but you're nervous, it's a big step. It's a leap of faith, right? And maybe you're a little self-conscious about it, a little apprehensive, a little worried, because it is such a big step. And perhaps you're on the internet just looking for something to push you in the right direction. Somehow you landed here. And if that's the case, look, cut through everything, the whole show, and we start off with this. If you're looking to pursue Christ in a diligent, honest, earnest, and obedient way, you are on the right track. And I'm encouraging you to continue that, encouraging you to learn more, encouraging you to go to church. It's a good step. It's the best decision you can make. And I'm rooting for you. And not just me. The people watching this show, all of Christendom should be rooting for you. The heavenly host is rooting for you. We want you to accept and embrace Jesus as your Savior and join our ranks. That's the motivation and encouragement I will give you. Let you know that you're not alone, and the feelings that you're having, it's understandable. But you got to take that first step. If you ever want to make more, you got to take that first step. And if that's what you needed and you want to leave, obviously you're free to go. I can't hold you here. But I would ask that perhaps stick around. Maybe check this out. Maybe get a little bit of some influence on what it's like, or get a view through the eyes of a Christian. See what we are all about when we're talking about things of matter, like I said, matters of faith. It's very relaxed, very layperson approach. We're not going to try to talk over your head in any way. That's not the intent or purpose of this. And I might not be able to do that anyway. Also, if you are already a Christian, for those who are already Christians and you're just looking for Christian topics and discussions, welcome as well. Glad to have you here. We run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. It's very small group oriented. Like I just was saying, it's very relaxed, very, very informal. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you whether you are an established Christian, you're just learning, or you haven't even made the decision to move forward in being a Christian yet. Want to hear from you guys all, because as we go through this and we're talking about scripture, we are discussing different things that go on. Want to hear from you. It's not just me in this show. I put my face on here. I host the show, but this is just as much of an opportunity for you to run your mouth as it is for me to run mine. But I really would like to hear from you. Again, this is a small group setting. This is especially now, past couple of streams have been very quiet. We got off to a good start in 2025, very lively chat, but I think this cold weather has frozen the chat a bit, and we just need to thaw it out some. So even then, you'll still have an opportunity to put something in the chat, and I will read and respond to it. So go ahead and tell me what you agree with or disagree with. Where do you think I'm right or wrong? What unique perspective, insights, or experience do you have that perhaps we haven't talked about or considered? Maybe you just want to add on to something somebody else has said. Share your opinion. Ask questions. I'm not saying I'm going to have the answers for them, but we can talk about the question nonetheless. Maybe somebody in the chat will have an answer for you, or maybe not. But regardless, let's get on with it. So we got viewers, but nobody's got anything to say. So, and I don't really have much of an opening as far as small talk for anything. Just keep your prayers out there for people. This is the county and the city of Richmond had a big mistake yesterday or today, and the water supply is not for public consumption or use, and so Richmond's out of water, and surrounding counties are out of water. Thankfully, yours truly, well and septic, so I am okay. But we have friends and family who are not. So hopefully we can get some water. There have been accidents because of the treacherous roads. We want to just pray for everybody affected by this storm. Some obviously more deeply than others, and hope everybody's safe out there. Okay, now we left off last night on kind of an odd number. Usually we try to do them in fives or on whole bits or whatnot. We just stopped. We just talked enough about lazy people. Wrapping up there, and not just the folks that we know that are lazy, but ourselves who are lazy. And before that, those who are foolish, not necessarily those, just people we know who are act foolishly, but maybe we act foolishly. And so as we go through tonight, let's find out what's next in the 26th chapter of Proverbs. We're going to start with 17 and move on from there. 17, like one who grabs a dog by the ears and is likely to be bitten, is he who, passing by, stops to meddle with a dispute that is none of his business. Yeah, we're not talking about grabbing a dog by the ears because you're just going to scratch their ears and you just want to. No, this is talking about grabbing a dog by the ears. I don't know why you would do that. I've never really seen anybody pick a fight, even pick a fight with a dog that way. Maybe mess with a dog while he's eating. Yeah. But the idea there is provoke a dog into biting you. Is the same way if just walking by, seeing a dispute and saying, hey, maybe I should insert myself into this argument. This isn't, look, life isn't an RPG. It's not a video game. And as much as we joke on the internet about people being NPCs, that's not actually the case. They're not going to react the way that some dude some developer has scripted that person to react. Most of the time, you start talking about the people. Who the heck are you? You're not the main character. Who the heck are you? I'm not here. I'm not here to send you on some quest. I'm here having an argument with a friend or a stranger or somebody I don't like, a family member. But whatever it is, we're exchanging words. You don't have any business being here. So you're likely to get yelled at, likely to told to get lost with probably in less polite terms. The old taco burrito conversation, nachos. But yeah, don't insert yourself into other people's disputes. You weren't invited. Nobody asked for your opinion. That doesn't mean that you just coming in there and going, "Hey, what's going on, guys? I think you should listen to me." You might even have something reasonable to say. You might actually have a viable solution, a sensible solution. But if somebody is having an argument in front of you, they might just not be willing to listen. And even if one person thinks that your idea is sensible, the other person might think that somebody's getting over on them. It's just not a good place, right? And you don't know where that argument's ultimately going to lead. So you don't need to insert yourself in there. Like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death, so is the man who deceives his neighbor, acquaintance, friend, and then says, "Was I not joking?" The meme here, folks. Oh, I was just pretending to be retarded. It's not funny. And this is coming from somebody who sometimes goes too far instigating friends because they're people I feel comfortable poking at. Same thing with family. I've started arguments and hasn't gone well. Made me feel bad. Made me feel less than a friend or a family member, a loved one to that person or people. And deservedly so. There's a time and place. Sometimes I take jokes too far, comments too far. Sometimes I don't read the room all that well. It can be a little socially awkward in that sense. Usually it involves my wife striking me in some way to get my attention. Say, "Hey, idiot, what are you doing?" And you can't just say, oh, I was joking. No, it needs to be followed up with an apology. And reading this a little bit more, there's more to this probably than what I just said, because it says, "So is the man who deceives his neighbor." So this sounds actually a little bit more insidious. But that seems less like a madman and more like a deceiver. That's why I was saying somebody who is careless, reckless, just saying whatever for his own amusement. That's what I was relating to. But also, you can legitimately be looking to cause trouble, and then when you're caught in it, I was joking. Doesn't matter either way. I could say that maybe if you did it just because you did it with good intentions or more mischievous intentions than malicious intentions, you could say the heart was in the right place, or again, You weren't trying to be malicious. You were just trying to be funny, and it didn't land. It's one of the things I work on with my kids. It's like, hey, you can be funny. You're naturally funny. When your kids are naturally funny. When you try too hard to be funny, maybe I take my own advice. You try too hard to be funny. You're not funny. Just be you. Don't try to be something else. Don't try to impress people in that way. Impress people by being yourself. And if yourself doesn't impress people or gives people the wrong impression, then you need to work on yourself. You can't try to make yourself be something you're not, though. I don't think I did the best job with 18 and 19. 20. For lack of wood, the fire goes out, and where there is no whisperer who gossips, contention quiets down. Like charcoal to hot embers and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. The words of a whisperer, gossip, are like dainty morsels to be greedily eaten. They go down to the innermost chambers of the body to be remembered and mused upon. Like a common clay vessel covered with the silver dross, making it appear silver when it has no real value, are burning lips, murmuring manipulative words, and a wicked heart. But he who hates disguises it with his lips, but he stores up deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously and kindly to conceal his malice, do not trust him, for 7 abominations are in his heart. Though his hatred covers itself with guile and deceit, his malevolence will be revealed openly before the assembly. Whoever digs a pit for another man's feet to fall into it, and he who rolls up a stone up a hill to do mischief, it will come back to him. A lying tongue hates those it wounds and crushes, and a flattering mouth works ruin. Okay, probably went a little bit further than I should have without stopping and going back over, but um, we did pass a couple of points here. So gossiping, 20 through 23. Some man with malicious intent, 24, maybe through the end, but really 24 through 26. Then 27 is more along the lines of maybe somebody just goofing off too much, or maybe actually being malicious, and then it comes back again in 28. So that might all be together. But let's start with 20 through 23. For lack of wood, the fire goes out, and where there is no whisperer who gossips, contention quiets down. Like charcoal to hot embers and wood to fire, so is a contentious man kindle strife. This is talking about gossiping, right? Causes lots of trouble. We're not supposed to do it. Oddly enough, right? We are advised, we're commanded not to engage in gossip because that does not bring us together as Christians. It divides, it causes strife, right? And it's natural. It's only natural when you get groups of people together that there's going to be some disagreements. There's going to be personalities that don't mesh well. And again, just kind of like how I tell my kids, you can't force yourself to be somebody you're not. You can't force yourself to be friends with somebody. You can show somebody respect without necessarily being chums, being buddies. But even if you're showing each other respect in that manner, if you add gossip, if you add rumor, it's like kindling. And if you take that out, the fire goes out. You take the wood away, the fuel, fire doesn't have anything to burn. And where two people could function cordially and respectfully, even though they don't necessarily agree with each other much or get along all the time, they have healthy boundaries, and they're able to work together. And like I said, treat each other respectfully. That's allowed to happen and thrive. And who knows where that ultimately leads? Because if you keep gossip out, that relationship's allowed to go down, continue until hopefully maybe you do see eye to eye on things. Maybe you do end up learning to live with each other in a more agreeable sense. And the words of a whisperer or gossip are like dainty morsels to be greedily eaten. They go down into the innermost chambers of the body to be remembered and mused upon. And yes, yeah, it's hard to take gossip back. You hear it. Guess it's it. This really comes into where some of the same reason that bearing false witness against your neighbor is such a awful thing. Why it's in the 10 Commandments. It's hard to take back reputation that you've lost, even if it's through deceit. You talk about men who have been wrongfully accused of rape. Not saying that all accusations are not. We're not getting into this Me Too, believe all women stuff. But if you look at something like the Duke Lacrosse scandal or other instances where an accuser has it is so difficult to get your reputation back, even if you're publicly vindicated. It's always there in the background. Well, it was believable because they were in the he was in a bad position with him. Yeah, Mordred, it is empty in here. This is the emptiest this stream has been. Two years, 3 years. But hey, you're here. I'm here. We got some other folks. I can see that there's more viewers going on right now. So there's that. But it's so hard for you to get that reputation clean. That rumor, that lie, even everybody knows it's a lie. It's still there. There's still that mark. You draw a picture. You ever try to draw a picture, especially like when you were a kid, you were doodling, and you try to erase it, and you got most of it away, but there's still lines. You still can kind of see that it was there at one point, even if you draw over it. If you look, and gossip works like that. You hear something, it never really goes away because something else happens. You're like, so-and-so said this about them. And it gets in the way of that due process. And if it's something contentious between you and a neighbor, you and somebody else in the, oh yeah. You and somebody else in the community, something that's not a legal issue, but maybe it speaks to their character or your character, and you hear something, and you just think on it. If they do this, then they're likely to do that. Or how could this person do this? But you don't know. Just heard a rumor. Or you don't know the details surrounding it. You don't know the background behind what you heard. You don't have the full story. Maybe you don't know the context behind what was going on. This is why this stuff is bad. This is why it's toxic. And yeah, many of us, especially those folks who watch shows on YouTube or Kick or Rumble or whatever. I do it too. I watch Kino Casino. That's all that stuff is. And then it's like a soap opera, right? Probably shouldn't do that. Probably should back away from that. But we can't help ourselves. Mordred said, my entire town is snowed in and still have to work. I'm working from home, doing a lot of work from home, which is good. I have that advantage. Kids aren't going to school. We're kind of similar aspect. Not so. I haven't even looked to see what condition the roads are in. The Rittenhouse, Depp. I would say more. I mean, yeah, there's always going to be that issue with Depp, and I am more sympathetic to Rittenhouse because, look, he was a kid, and he really was. I mean, I think that was an effort by the state to make a case against a kid who was defending himself. And, like it or not, those were the facts. And yet they still wanted to go after him because they wanted to make a point. And the news wanted him dead to rights. Everybody wanted him locked up. In the media, it seemed. Everybody wanted the book thrown at him. And what was he doing? Wanted to go out. He was participating. Maybe he just didn't like the fact that he saw riots and he wanted to do something. He was going out there, trying to clean things up, trying to offer some assistance, some aid, but also have a means of defending himself because it's an active riot zone. I don't care what you say about what was going on at the moment he got there or the hours that he was helping out. That was an active riot zone. Depp, kind of a victim of his own, of some of his own making, right? Alcoholic, drug addict, getting involved with other celebrities, just out of control. It's easier to see that it's easier to see how somebody like Depp would fit some of the and a lot of the stuff that came out was true, but was he an abuser? And that's the thing, right? What is the what's the questions you ask? Like, so how often do you beat your wife? Is the question that you ask somebody. Whoa, you just threw that out there. Now everybody's thinking about it. And while Rittenhouse was on video and everything, and everybody knows that's just a kid. He was caught up in something, he got in over his head, and he defended himself well. I think he did a great job. Depp was a guy who was kind of an easy target. And I'm sure they did have some pretty spectacular arguments between those two. but definitely seemed like definitely seemed like uh, he was innocent of many of the allegations of violence. I'd rather be a wretch to humanity than a wretch to God. Yes, but you shouldn't have to be both. You shouldn't have to choose either, right? And while it's look, if you're persecuted on I mean, look, we go all the way to you want to do the martyrs, the church martyrs, in the earliest years of Christianity. Those guys were accused and gals were accused of all sorts of weird stuff and killed over it. But if we're if we're not in the struggle, right? If we're in a Christian society or Christian community, the ideal is you don't deal with either. And why do you deal with that? Don't lie about each other. Don't spread rumors about each other. Don't talk about other people's business. But it happens, and we all seem to be susceptible to it. How do I go about becoming a pastor or a preacher? Ooh, well, I would say I'd say first, if you're grounded in a good church and a good congregation, I would approach your pastor about it. Um, but it would involve going to seminary of some sort. Um, I do think that is important. I don't think that simply going to seminary qualifies you to be a pastor or preacher. But I think that it helped that to a person who has that gift, has that calling, it can help prepare them for what they need I think after that, being in a junior or a associate minister role, kind of learning from a senior minister would be the next step, and then Lord willing, leading your own congregation or being part of a what I think is better elder led churches, um, being part of a church where you are uh, acting as their preacher or pastor. Um, there are there are scripture in Timothy that lays out kind of some of the qualifications about it regarding it. But again, I think that if you're already kind of in a good spot in a church, um, your preacher should know you. You should be able to have a candid, private conversation with them where you would ask them and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking. What's the next? What's the next step for me? What's the timeline for this?" Sorry, I'm gonna wrap up this thought though, and then I need to put my and then I need to put I forgot to put my son to bed. Oh, he was playing my the reason that we were that the stream started 5 minutes late was because I was finishing up a chess game with him. He's really great. He's really fond of chess. I'm okay at it. But I was playing him and my wife just got it guess what, done with it. So she was playing him and she was like, "Hey, you gonna put him to bed?" I'm like, "Oh wait, forgot." Anyway, so that would be where I go with it as far as becoming a pastor or a preacher. Just and the reason I say that is because I myself have felt the desire to be a preacher or a pastor, but I don't think I have the temperament I don't think I have the appropriate temperament. I think that some things I could, some things I think I could be pretty good at. Other things I think I would be struggle with, which is like maybe counseling or whatnot. I'm not as much of a people person, which I think you do have to have a little bit of way of getting people to you to just communicating with people on a one-to-one level or in a disagreement or something, mediate or whatnot. I don't know if I'm good at that. I think that would be a place I would struggle, or trying to deal with somebody, um, deal with or help somebody who's dealing with loss or who is at death's door. You know, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it, and I don't want to let people down. But the main part is I'm too argumentative. I'm too bombastic. And I don't communicate. So oftentimes my facial expressions have me come across a little bit more intense than I intend to be. And that to me is a big roadblock. And I'm not going to be a stumbling block um, on the pulpit for anybody. That's not for me. And so that's why I have not pursued. And that was a personal decision. I haven't asked anybody about it, but that's just where I sit. I'll skip a few. This is more. That's what makes me nervous about it, that I don't have what it takes. Well, maybe you don't, but maybe you do. I guess that's why I said it's good to have a conversation with somebody about it. I talk to my friends, I talk to my wife, and they all kind of know, right? We've all had this We've all had conversations. I know where I stand enough that I probably could go up, and I'm pretty sure I could give a pretty decent sermon, and I could probably do it off the cuff. But there's more to being a pastor. There's more to being a preacher than just giving a sermon. There's a whole lot more, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with it. And so while I would love to do that, I can't just do what I want and avoid the other responsibilities that come with it. But if it's something that you're interested in, again, ask some people who know. Maybe ask some people who know you, and people that you trust that know not just what they like about you, but maybe what they dislike about you. It is to me, I tell you, if you didn't catch it, I did it last month. It was Thank Your Pastor, Thank Your Minister. It was an episode I did, like I said, right before Christmas, I think. It is a tough job, and oftentimes not necessarily thankless, but people don't really appreciate that you're still a human being, that you're still a flawed person. They put you're up at this pulpit, and people seem to put you on this pedestal, and you do have, to me, in my opinion, um, you're held to a higher standard. But we shouldn't hold you to such a standard or we shouldn't hold preachers to such a standard that they can't make any mistakes. And at the same time, pastors and preachers need to realize that when they've fallen and let the congregation down, that they need to step down as well. If you've lost the trust of your congregation, if you've lost faith with them, step down. Be part of the congregation. And maybe you'll get another chance. But it's not like you leave and then, I need to go back right. You need to go right back into it. That's the problem. You see these pastors that get caught up in these controversies, oftentimes of a sexual nature, and they go into they go on sabbatical, they take a break, and sometimes it's like 6 weeks and they're back, "Oh, I need to be in another church, I need to be back preaching." No, 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 no. There needs to be a whole path to get past this, because what you will do, what you have in your hand is the trust of your fellow Christians to be leading them in the right direction, and they can trust you not to lie to be lying to them about who you are. Because again, you don't want to be that stumbling block. So again, like you said, somebody that you know is going to be honest with you, knows your foils, your pros and cons, and thinks and is biblically knowledgeable enough to ascertain if you would be a good fit, and then maybe gauge your own personality, your own interest in it, to see if you're committed enough to do it. But I won't discourage people for that. Hey, Jenny, what's going on, man? Mordred said Depp was a victim of the feminist misandrist agenda of Me Too. Yeah, yeah. But again, sometimes this is where discretion and behavior and reputation, everything is all important. You know, Depp was doing a lot of things wrong, and he put himself in a position, I think, uh, where it was easy to think that he was what he was being accused of. That said, I don't know whether to be happy that reports to say that the prosecutor Binger is now an alcoholic. You don't know. Maybe he was before the Rittenhouse trial. I know we got a lot of well-earned bad press about it, because it seemed like um, what had happened was driven. Like there was a lot of pride going into things. But again, what are we doing now? We're gossiping about him. What we do want to do is say, look, hope he's learned from his mistake. I hope he's dealing with it well. I hope he's improving himself, just like I hope that about everybody. Thad, watch the Queen's Gambit with him. That's the one with my boy Toby Maguire in it, right? I think that might be. He can watch stuff that's dry about something he's interested in, like that. He's watched that. He's watched uh, Moneyball and enjoyed it. So Robbie Zacharias was that, I believe. Who's Robbie Zacharias? Do you believe that God was with Kyle Rittenhouse throughout the trial and the incident? Well, as somebody who believes that God is omniscient, well, I'm sorry, omnipresent, I think he's always with us everywhere. I think that, and Kyle is a professing believer. I have no reason to think that he isn't. So yeah, no, I think he was there. God's will be done. But at the same time, I think Kyle chose to make the actions that to do the actions that he did, much like the people who were around him that night chose the actions that they made. But I'm glad that he was acquitted. I'm glad that things landed the way they did. So, oh, Robbie was a preaching evangelist who was found out to be a sex pest with women. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I might have done this on some of my earlier streams. Like this is talking like years ago. Me and Eric Rollon would do problems at the pulpit with some things, and I think that there was some that I've done myself where um, you talk about controversy like that. And yeah, that's there was a there was one recently. Oh man, I know if Matt Felty was here, he would be able to, or Nernaeth, if he was there, they would remember. It's a guy that a lot of people really respected. I'm trying to Stevens, I think is his last name. Hold on. Oh crap. Oh, dropped my keyboard. Hold on. I think it's Steve Lawson. I think it's Steve Lawson. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. Steve Lawson. And it's still, and here's one from Protestia. This is a guy who was a lot of the way I've heard him described is kind of a preacher's preacher, guy that a lot of preachers looked up to. But he admitted that he had and this is an older guy. Let's say he's in his 70s. He had a inappropriate relationship with a girl in her 20s, a lady in her 20s. And the whole thing, and this was only a matter of months ago. I want to say this was like summer, fall period. The, everything was kind of up in the air about it, and it was very odd the way that everything was, the different churches were reacting, and or the church that he was preaching at was reacting, and how the people in the Christian community were reacting about it. And it wasn't our best look. So yeah. So Robbie Zacharias, and there's countless names behind that in Protestant and Catholic circles alike. And you see how easily it is for us to get down, go down that rabbit hole. And even now, I think we're kind of bordering on the edge of gossip. And it's dangerous, but it's a fine line for trying to kind of stay informed and having your finger on the pulse of your community and understand what's going on, so that you can discern and make correct judgments and try to gauge the reputation of the people around you. And then gossip and rumor and drama, they're very close to each other. And I'm sure that all of us have probably have difficulty navigating that. Now, I know some folks, especially a guy I have an immense amount of respect for, who doesn't really like getting into gossip and will actually shut down in a conversation, has shut down in conversations when it's drifted into that, because he doesn't like being there. And I think, and again, and that makes me respect him even more. It's a hard thing to do. It's hard to have that type of discipline. What do you think will happen to Israel at this point? This war is getting really weird. Is it ever not weird? Now, I was in Iraq during the crap, was it Hamas or Hezbollah? One of those guys. There was some rocket exchange, and this was, I want to say it was August or September of 2006. And I mean, you could Syria and Jordan were scared out of their minds. They were thinking that Israel was going to say, screw this. We're going to go attack Iran. We're going to go attack somebody. And they were going to roll right through everybody to go there. Now, whether you like or dislike Israel, whether you think we should or should not be sending money to them, they are a well-equipped, well-trained military that I would say is leaps and bounds, or is head and shoulders over anybody else in the area that isn't uh, sporting the stars and stripes. So I think that there is legitimate respect in there for their capabilities, even though there might be resentment, jealousy, or whatever, anger, or whatever. I will say this: I don't think with any of the players in the Middle East that Christians have many friends or allies in that whole situation. And it's sad that perhaps it's sad that there's a lot of history in our faith that is located in that area and region. But I think the important thing is that we have faith, and less so the locations. Other people might disagree with me on that. I just think that you're not going to find allies, true allies and true friends in that region if you are a Christian first, which is what we should be. And I think that you can see that by how Christians are treated in that area. One side spitting on them, the other side is using them as shields, and some of them are being executed or imprisoned. But yeah, that's me. It always seems to be weird over there, and I think that's part of the game. The Middle East is a different culture than what it is, a way different culture than what we are used to in Western society and in America. It's just a different dynamic. There's different cultural expectations and norms, and I think that's where a lot of us just don't understand what goes on in there. And so oftentimes we need to not come to some conclusions. But I am you won't see me waving either flag and supporting either side. Or at least on principle. There might be certain sides in certain times where I go, oh yeah, well, I understand this. That's kind of so yeah. To add to that, to bring this back into what we were talking about, verse 19, when we were talking about the man who deceives his neighbor, acquaintance, friend, then says, was I not joking? You could say, okay, you put a missile, Israel, your IDF forces put a missile through one of our a Christian church to hit terrorists. What's that about, buddy? So your iPhone's like, well, it's good seeing you, Mordred. Glad you showed up, but it was good to have it's good to have Thad and Jenny in your absence in the chat. All right, so we're gonna continue through this. Hang on as long as you can, Mordred. As always, good seeing you. The words of whisper gossip, we were talking about that one. Like a common clay vessel covered with the silver dross, making it appear silver when it has no real value, are burning lips, murmuring manipulative words, and the wicked heart. And yeah, again, it appears great. It's tantalizing. It seems like and while the taste for gossip, where it's like, ooh, I want more, I want more. It's so sweet. I love hearing it. I love getting into the drama, blah blah blah. Right. And there's also the part where you think, well, this is actually useful information. This is what I was saying earlier. How do you walk that line between, understanding what's going on in your world, in your community, and the people you need to, and the people's reputations? You might think that this is good information. But what's the motivation of the source of the information that you're getting? And are you aware of that? Are you hearing this third hand? Do you know where this information came from? That's another important part of this, because it can look useful. It can look like valuable information, but it might be worthless. It might be a ripoff, and it might come from somebody with ill intent. And again, we've talked about where that leads, especially when you want it to, when it leads where you, or where it tells you to go where you want it to. And I think one of the great, I said it, and some of y'all might be too young to remember this, but if you ever see the 30 for 30 that ESPN did, which I thought was, well, ESPN platformed, the 30 for 30 film on Duke lacrosse, it's well worth it. And I thought that it was very odd to me that ESPN did that, because ESPN was right at the forefront of smearing those kids, smearing their reputations, and didn't do a whole lot on the back end of trying to restore that. Maybe that was something in the line of way of their apology. Who knows? But it's a very well done documentary. And if you want to talk about how rumor and malicious intent, how damaging it can be, that was a big deal. And I was in Iraq when that whole thing broke, and I heard parts about it, and I was living under a rock, it felt like. He who hates disguises it with his lips, but he stores up deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously and kindly to conceal his malice, do not trust him, for 7 abominations are in his heart. Yeah. Hate can do this to a person. Hate and anger, distrust, all that stuff that you go through, it festers. It builds on itself. It has its own momentum. Like I said, I've said this before, good deeds, doing the right thing, getting in that zone, it's momentum. It makes doing the right thing easier as you keep going. Same thing with doing bad things. Same thing with holding resentment in your heart for someone. And nowhere is this probably most damaging is when it's done through a loved one, or done to a loved one or a friend that you're not able to get past a disagreement or a problem that you have with them. And though you love them and they're close to you, it could be a spouse, could be a brother or a sister, could be a good friend. This stuff can eat at you and turn you into this. And this is the bad guy. This is describing the bad guy. He who hates disguises it with his lips, but he stores up deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously and kindly to conceal his malice, do not trust him, for 7 abominations are in his heart. It's hard for me to hide my feelings. And so generally, generally, if I don't like somebody, I don't talk to them, for a multitude of reasons, but this is part of it. I don't want to discuss things with them. I don't want to let my own personal feelings get in the way, especially when it's somebody like a coworker that I have to work with on a regular basis. I don't want that getting in the way. I just want to get the job done. I just want to be able to exist around you. And if I let my words get the better of me, if I let my feelings get the better of me, it's only going to make things worse. There are people out there, and I've let myself fall into this category myself, where You just let it fester, and then you're just out to get them, right? In whatever way, shape, or form, because you feel like they've wronged you, or you just don't like them. Maybe you just, then there are other folks who just do it because they have evil intent. Who knows? But they are dangerous to be around. And it's illustrated very well here. Though his hatred covers itself with guile and deceit, his malevolence will be revealed openly before the assembly. And that's the end. When the dagger falls and it stabs you right in the back, when you least see it, then it'll be out in the open for everybody. It's hard for me to imagine doing that. Not to say that I don't think I'm immune from getting caught up in that, but that's just never been my MO. Usually, you know where you stand with me. And even if I don't intend that, even if I don't really want to talk, usually folks can figure it out when I have issues with them. Yeah, I think my facial expressions sometimes betray me, and sometimes maybe communicate it when I don't really feel that way. I might feel amount of passion or intensity about a topic without necessarily thinking about a person. I might disagree with somebody on something, but not really disagree with them as a person. I feel like sometimes that is communicated in the wrong way, and it's something I gotta figure out. That it feels like a next to impossible task. Whoever digs a pit for another man's feet will fall into it, and he who rolls up a stone up a hill to do mischief, it will come back on him. Yeah, you might get somebody. You might trap them. But man, oh man, is it so easy for you to get caught up in your own trap. And you can get you can get pulled right into hell with them. Do you think you're clever? You set somebody up for failure? Don't be surprised if that doesn't if you don't end up getting caught up in that as well. And it's kind of like the old saying: when you go out looking for revenge or looking for vengeance, dig two graves, one for that person, one for you. Might be self-immolating there, buddy. All right, last one. A lying tongue hates those it wounds and crushes, and a flattering mouth works ruin. I'm not going to perseverate over this. We've talked about it before, but a lot of this has to do with some of this has real malicious intent. I think there are people who do that, but also we can get caught up in this by not wanting to alienate somebody, having the best of intentions, not wanting to push somebody away. So we accept the things that they do wrong. We tell them it's okay. Tell them we don't have a problem with it. And we know better. We set them on the path for damnation. If you're doing something wrong, don't look for somebody to tell you it's okay and tell you it's right, or tell you it's not that big of a deal. That person does not have your best intentions in mind. Hang on. They don't have your best intentions in mind. It might make them feel better about it. And again, they might have good intentions to do it because they don't want you to feel bad. They don't want you to be depressed. They don't want you to get down on yourself. But maybe you need to be. Like I said, shame's a good thing. That's something to avoid. It's something that's supposed to teach you something. Teach you not to be there. Same with guilt. It's okay for someone to tell you you're doing something wrong. It's okay for you to tell somebody else that they're doing something wrong. How you do it is important, and I'm not one to tell you to give advice on that because I haven't perfected that. Another thing that probably would keep me from being a preacher. But 28 doesn't necessarily have to be malicious. Flattering mouth works ruin. All right, that'll fix us up on Proverbs 26. So the next time we stream, because I won't say tomorrow, because every time I've said, "Oh, we're gonna do it again," something's come up. So I don't want to put that on the stream. We're doing good right now. So the next time we'll start on Proverbs 27. So Jenny, Fortune Kane, RIP your battery, Thad the man, and that's our very quiet, very small group in the chat tonight. Thank you guys for your words, even if just to say hi, or ask questions. Doesn't matter. Make suggestions of movies. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad you guys are in the chat. I appreciate it. You guys, especially you three, are regulars. And y'all's words and thoughts are always welcome here and always constructive, even when you're making fun of me. But thank you. Thank you guys every night because you deserve it. To everybody who is tuning in but not being part of the chat, hey, I encourage you to be part of the chat. I understand why you might not want to or might not be able to. That's fine. I am just glad that you are coming in, tuning in, and getting something that you like and coming back and interested in hearing the word discussed. Maybe not necessarily all the add-ons I'm doing with my commentary. So, but again, thank you for being here on the show with me. Everybody who is catching this on replay, I appreciate you watching. I'm sorry I missed you. I hope to catch you live sometime soon. Everybody have a good night and God bless.